again that you please introduce yourself, whatever you would like for our group to know about you as a candidate and as a member of our community, and we'll take it from there.
I would love to do that. So first off, thank you again for your invitation. Thank you for having me here. I feel it's very important to communicate with everyone in our community. We may all have different opinions. We may all have different preferences, but that should never prevent us from sitting down and communicating with each other. It's very important that we do that. So just to give you guys some background, I'm 52 years old. My wife and I have been married for 30 years. We're high school sweethearts. We have 2 children that are grown up and through college already. We moved to the Fort Bend County area in 1992. I became a police officer for the city of Stafford in 1992. Can you hear me okay, Anna? Can they hear me? Okay. I became a police officer in 1992 with the city of Stafford, working with Bonnie Cron, Chief Bonnie Cron, and some of you may know Leonard Scarcella, who recently passed away, was our mayor. And so from that, we lived in Pecan Grove for 15 years. And after deciding to leave full-time law enforcement to go to one of my businesses that I had started, I'm an entrepreneur, we moved to Greatwood. So 15 years ago, we moved into Greatwood, which at the time was unincorporated Sugarland. And 2 years ago, it became incorporated Sugarland. So, which made Sugarland my home officially. And so we've been here for 15 years. And as a police officer, I certainly know the community. I know the community problems that we face. To this very day, I'm still a police officer. I'm now a reserve with the Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department. I've been with them for approximately 8 years. I was with Fort Bend County Precinct 4 for approximately 4 years. And I continue to give my time back to the county. It's what I do. And so my life is all about service to the community, not just locally, but beyond our city and state borders. I never stop. And so I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that are joining us right now, if you don't mind putting the mute buttons so we don't have the outside noise, we have the candidate for Sugarland City Council, William Ferguson, joining our group tonight, New Territory United for Peace and Ending Systemic Racism. And he just got through introducing himself as a resident in our community, former police officer and entrepreneur. So welcome again, William. And our next question is going to be about your platform. What prompted you to run for city council, and what is your platform that would distinguish you from the opponent that you have?
Well, Anna, if you know me, if you know my life the way I hope you do, I hope you didn't just step into my life over the last few days through some emails. I truly do hope you know my life. I was asked some time ago, William, if there are 2 things that the city of Sugarland could be known for because of me, because of what I do, what would those 2 things be? And it's an easy answer. I think most people will agree. I want the city of Sugarland to be known for our love for life, our love for fairness, our love for community, our love for life. The second thing is I want to be a part of bringing Sugarland in service to their community, not just in the sense of our lights stay on and our water stays clean. I want the city to serve the people again in a fair way. I want the people to hear from their representatives openly and transparently. I want, when I talk to someone on the street, that they say, oh, my mayor is Joe Zimmerman. Oh, my city council person is William Ferguson. And I want them to know their government that they have established so that the government can, again, start to serve the community. I hope that makes sense, but I'm all about fairness and service. And if you watch my life, you'll see my proof of that.
Does anyone have any follow-up questions for William regarding his platform?
Yeah, I do. And so I hear what you're saying about fairness and service. And as you know, this year has been a challenge to us all regarding the pandemic as well as the systemic racism movement. And so can you speak a bit to what African Americans are feeling at this point in time living here in Sugar Land? I've been here since 1997 and live across from the old Imperial Prison. And two of the streets in our neighborhood are named after Cunningham and Ellis, who now I'm reading all these books are responsible for the convict leasing. And then we try to elevate that to let the city of Sugar Land know how we feel that these streets are representing people who did not respect us. And so can you speak a bit to what you can do to help us moving forward to just elevate the issue? You know, we're only like one person, you're one person, but for the city to understand that every single day I go by those streets, the Ellis Creek pool is right next to my subdivision, and I have to take my granddaughter there. And so we're not asking to, change all the streets, but just those two streets, and come up with something that makes you feel proud to live here. Like it could be something calling a Unity Way. I just made that up, but something where it's not going to be a negative, so I can feel a sense of pride living here.
By the way, Robin, I love your question. I love your honesty. The problem I am going to have in answering your question is, even though I know a lot of people in Sugar Land, Fort Bend County, Texas, and beyond, it is very difficult for me to speak as if I understand what the Black community goes through. It would be almost unfair for me to even try to answer that question. I will tell you what people tell me, but I cannot tell you how the Black community feels in any way. And so the men and women that I know in our community, from the people I know at Sugar Land Church of Christ, all the way through Sugar Land, all my friends over in the Ulrich area behind the sugar mill, all of my friends out here, everyone tells me one or two things that are very similar. They feel safe in our city. They love our water. I mean, we all kind of agree on these things. They love our fire service. They love that. Now, going back to the street names, I believe that America, like everywhere, and like every one of us, we have a history that sometimes we don't want to talk about. Sometimes are very offensive times in our lives. And going back to the street names, I think it's a very valid concern that you have about a street name. And I find it interesting that people will drive up and down that street every day and never know the history behind the man. And I think you'll agree. You're shaking your head, or you're nodding your head. Education is everything. The more educated we are, the wiser we are in how we handle each other. So you ask me, what can we do? If you're offended by a street name, I may not be offended by it, but you know what? I may have something that's offensive to me. We need to work to neutralize that offense. There's no reason to leave a name up that's offensive to the community that uses a street. There's no responsibility to maintain that street name. So I don't see why we would push back on you if you have any concern about your street name. We may talk about the history of it. We may say, hey, what are some better options? But you nailed something on the head a moment ago. You by yourself and me by myself, we're probably not going to be able to change a whole lot individually. But you and I together, I'm telling you, we can do a lot of stuff. One of my friends in Missouri City, I don't know if you know Monica Riley. Everyone should know Monica Riley. Monica Riley refers to herself as a mountain mover. Now, Monica is a mountain mover because she moves people. And when you move people and ideas, you can move mountains. And Monica lives that. So my point is, we would need to join up in some way, in some fashion, and put positive pressure on the people that make those decisions, whether it's a council person or a county commissioner, through some traffic studies, whatever that takes, we need to work together to make that happen. So, Robin, I would say you leave that on the table and let's have that as something we want to make a movement on. There's no reason it can't be moved on. But there's only one way to do it, and that's together. The only way. Thank you, Robin.
That was a good question, Robin, and
You did good.
and this speaks to the issue of we are learning a lot about our city and this area. And one thing I wanted to have you an opportunity to address is whether you believe systemic racism exists.
So if I were to sit here and tell you, I do not believe systemic racism has been or is a part of our history, because I'm a history nut, I would really need to also take out people like Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells. The list goes on and on. They all fought against what was truly systemic racism, especially if you'll think back. Let's, for just a minute, back out of 2020, which has been one of the ugliest years of my life. But let's back out of that for a minute. Those of you that don't know Ida B. Wells, it was okay in her time for lynchings. Ida B. Wells, I want you to imagine this lady is a black female. She's an author. She went and stood at the foot of the trees while these men were being lynched. In the face of that threat, you want to talk about systemic racism? She stood face to face with it because it was built into the system. But there is some good news in this. In all that ugly history, there's some good news in this. And I hope you share this news, okay? As of 2019, the last I read, the last number I saw, there are some 40 million slaves in the world. I want you to put your mind around that. That's women, men, and children, 40 million. So I have a saying that I came up with, and I hope it is as accurate as I feel it is. I've always said, slavery came to America to die, and it has taken hundreds of years to remove it, okay? Now, the systems were in place that tolerated and even condoned slavery. Going back to earlier, we were talking about the Sugarland 95 just in passing, but when we think about the Sugarland 95, for example, that was a tolerated practice endorsed by our government. And in 1912, when they said no more of this is allowed, guess what? It ended. So yes, I believe systemic racism has been a part of our history. And to deny that is to deny all the beatings that Martin Luther King took on the street, on the bridge in his lifetime. So yes, I believe that it has been part of our history. And if I may pull that tight in, because we're looking with a huge, huge telescope, I want to pull it in with a microscope to Sugarland. For us to use the term systemic in front of racism, we need to identify within the city that there is a structure that promotes racism. Now, you and I have been here quite a while in Sugarland. Robin, if you can give me a fingers up or whatever, how long have you been in Sugarland?
25 years.
Okay, this is a great example. And I'm not trying to exclude anyone, but this question and answer has been going back. So for 25 years, Robin, if we're going to talk about systemic racism, I would literally need to go to the line item in some of our guidelines within the city to say that right there is systemic. We need to root it out. But here's the good news. For the most part, to my knowledge, there are no written guidelines, no written mandates, no written anything that should continue racism. Here's the great thing, Robin. If they're in there, you and I are going to find them, and you and I are going to pull them out, and we're going to tear them out, and we're going to destroy them. So that's with a microscope. So looking at American history, Texas history, guys, for anybody to say that there wasn't a time or whether it doesn't still exist for systemic racism, you literally just have to look in the history books, and it's in front of your face. So I don't mean to be bold about that comment, Anna, but it is in our face, and to deny it is to deny our history. So there's my answer on that.
Well, thank you. I don't think you'll have any disagreement from us on that. Systemic racism, unfortunately, has mutated into different areas like education, policing, criminal justice, medicine. You know, even the statistics about access to healthcare is disproportionate. on race and so forth. And one other place is even in our politics, because
Yes.
we're looking at the elected officials, and the diversity and representation may not be reflective of the diverse community. And so one of the important aspects as a follow-up question is, would you welcome having a community forum or a community input of local community members like Robin and I and so many others that may look different and have different viewpoints, but as citizens, we would want to have our concerns heard and hopefully implemented in a city's agenda?
Now, Anna, I would have all of them, but not you. That's a joke. That's a joke. Okay, so guys, right now, if you think about it, what Anna just requested is a forum, right? This is a small version of our forum. But can you imagine, just for a minute, one of the young men in my neighborhood, I was hosting sort of we were doing a campfire with marshmallows and hot dogs the other day. And this young man said something, from the mouth of babes comes truth, right? And this young man said, well, could we do this all over the city once a month? And it struck me, why don't we have our communities come together and sit down and say, hey, let's roast a marshmallow together and let's talk about what's going right or what's going wrong. Where is Anna concerned? Where's Robin concerned? Where's William concerned? What are our concerns? What are our joy? Let's talk about our joy. Let's talk about how we can serve our community, our residents, our elderly, our single moms. How can we do that as a community? Well, it's got to start somewhere. And Anna, the good news is it started right here. So yes, I would love it.
Thank you. Well, we love it too, right, guys? Yes.
Love it.
Well, that's important, because people want to feel like there is an open door, and we appreciate you for being open to that, and we do appreciate it, because that's how problems get solved too. First, we have to listen to each other.
So
and
Anna,
find ways to come up with.
If I may interrupt your thought, and I'm sorry I do that, but it'll skip by and I'll forget it. Here's what I wish you would do. Again, I've asked you. You look into my life. You want to talk about somebody that's having fun in life? I'm 52, and I'm going to be realistically fair here. I'm going to say I'm going to live to 75, if the Lord gives me that. But listen, that means I got 23 more years to have fun, 23 more years to serve people that are hurting, 23 more years to find the bully and root him out of our community. 23 more years, Anna. I'm running out of time. So let me tell you, if we're going to do forums, when I get into council, we need to get started. When I don't get into council, we need to get started, Anna. We need to push in a positive way, never a negative way. Learn that from MLK. We've talked about his name earlier. If we don't do it a positive way, I'm telling you, the doors, windows, phones, everything shut off. So we can, as a community, can come together. But right now we kind of run in different directions. We don't mean harm, but we don't know who's hurt. We don't know who's hurting. And we need to find these people that are hurt and hurting. Like Robin said earlier, that sign alone is offensive to her. We got to figure out why it's offensive. She and I know why. We got to figure out what it takes, or why we can't remove it, what it takes to get rid of it. I'm okay. I don't care about a sign. I don't care about anything except people, and my animals. I see a cat. I love cats and dogs, but I love dogs more than cats. Don't hold that against me.
We have both.
Perfect timing.
Yes. And the thing is, in many communities, people feel disconnected from their politicians, and that also hurts, us healing together too. We live in a very diverse area here in New Territory as well, and people have different opinions, obviously, but sometimes it's beyond an opinion. It's the right thing to do, the fair thing to do, so that every member of the community feels welcome, appreciated, equal, and valued. And that can't happen unless we have leaders that stand up for those principles too. Not to take away anything from anyone else, but we need people to stand up and say, no, everyone deserves to feel welcome, equal, and valued.
So Anna, in response to that, you're producing a problem I'm going to tell you about, but I'm going to tell you how we solve it. You ready? Your attitude about community is the correct attitude. Okay. We need to come together. We all may have some issues, but here's the deal. As long as we handle it as we and not as me, like William's preferences are to Robin. Robin, I love that sign. I think that sign is great. You see what I mean? It can't be about me. It has to be about we. What is best for us as a community, and how do we get there? How do we decide what is best for we? The first thing you got to do is you got to pull the me out of the whole thing. Not that you said that, but that's the way we build community through unity. And the way I can prove it is every time I travel out of Houston, Sugar Land, out of Texas, and I'm delivering supplies, I want you to know race, religion, gender, preferences, opinions, nothing matters. There's only one thing that matters. That one thing is, how do we help a fellow human? How do we help animals and dogs? We don't do that in our community because we don't talk about it. We don't sit down and say, what's best for we, not me. And I hope you heard that in a positive way, which is what I meant it to be.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with it. We are all part of the community.
Yes.
And this is the dynamics. We all want to feel welcome and heard and feel valued. And sometimes things have to change in order to do that.
Yes,
we want to heal from past wounds. And this brings up the issue of the Sugar Land 95. A group of us from our community have engaged with Fort Bend ISD and the county, and we are looking for partnership with the city to help us honor the Sugar Land 95, to help our community heal from the past and have our community feel welcome, equal, and valued. And what our goal is to see a memorial built, a museum built, and an education center with that. So that way we not only learn from the past, but we also learn how to proceed in a future that values equality and acceptance and so forth. So could you speak to that, whether you would see, how do you see that issue that we promote as our group does?
Okay, so Anna, I've got to start by saying something that is very important. I am a conservative, small government, frugal, blue collar entrepreneur that loves his wife. Okay, that's who I am. So I love community. I've already told you that. I prove it in my life, but I want to make something clear. So Sugar Land 95, I think first, and I am not speaking for any of the deceased. Okay. But I think the very first thing that we could do that would be responsible to them and our children is to figure out exactly who it was, okay? We know gender-wise, we know pretty close age-wise, but we don't know enough to know enough. Be careful, or I'm trying to be careful the way I say that. Once we know that history, we should joyfully do like I've done since the very beginning. When this happened, we are so blessed to be the generation, you ready for this, that gave a voice to that 95, okay? But can you imagine this, Anna? What if we not only give a voice to the Sugar Land 95, but what if we know their names? What if we know why they were placed there? What if we know what their conditions were? And I don't mean as a group, I mean as an individual. You want to talk about a beautiful thing in our community? If somehow, some way we were given access to records that may produce that information, Anna, there's you a museum tour right there. If we can talk about each one of them and why they were held, should they have been, because I don't know individually their stories, but if they were held there as least convicts, let me tell you, that is not something, and I'm going to be careful when I go too far here. There is a system right now in place with private prisons, okay? You ever looked into that, Anna? Okay, so let me tell all of you, if you've not looked into what private prisons has done for liberty or against liberty, I beg you to look into what we do now in several states. I'm not going to get into that, but not to digress too much, but I'm telling you, we are doing it to people in a different way today than we did then. So going back to your original question, do I believe there needs to be a line item on the city budget as a museum or a memorial? I do not. But listen, Anna, we can do that with private money. We can literally build such a beautiful story around what was a dark history in Texas. Texas has a lot of pride, ugly or otherwise. Texas has a lot of pride. And if we can find a way to tell that story, there is a gentleman that has told his story so well about TDC, who has cared for the cemetery for so many years, who has such a great story. But just wait until we can tell the story of the 95, not as a group, but as individuals. So yes, I support the idea of a memorial. I support the idea of a museum, but you cannot do either one well until we know who they were and why they were found in that condition. Is that okay for me to say it that way?
Sure. I mean, you're answering the question,
Okay,
and you're
okay.
saying it the way you feel that's appropriate.
Okay.
Do you all have anything to add to that, Robin, or anyone else want to ask any follow-up to Mr. Ferguson? William, sorry.
No, but I'd like to say that I wish you all the best in this upcoming election. It's like this said, it's one of the most important elections probably of our lifetime. Across the board, there's so many things going on. And I know that it's not easy having a campaign and just wanting people to understand your heart and understanding, you know, what you want to leave as a legacy, because being a public official, what you do is going to impact the lives, you know, of us, of the taxpayers, of the citizens. So I applaud you for running, because it's not easy in this day and age, you know, being there so that everybody can feel as though you're going to be representing their voice. So thank you for taking the time out on a Sunday. It's not easy because that's precious time, you know, on the weekend. So appreciate you. And
You're welcome. And thank you, Robin. But may I respond to you also, Robin?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you straight up, okay? I am going to be, and I believe if you look into my life, just in our interview alone, I believe if you look into my life, you will realize how rare I am. And I tell you that
Okay.
not just because my wife says, William, you are uniquely different, right? But I mean, because of the way I treat the world, okay? The way I treat humans and animals, I want you to hear me. Please look into my life. The only way I'm going to pull this off, Robin, there's only one way. And you understand the term establishment, right?
Oh, yes.
Robin, I need your help to overcome an establishment, okay? I can't say that any better. There's never been a greater opportunity than a general election on November 3rd. Here's why. The establishment counts on off elections. They count on only 35 and 3,800 people voting them into office. I need 60,000 votes, Robin. You know why? Because I'm going to take my attitude in there, the attitude I think you like. I'm willing to fight against any bully. I'm willing to be transparent in everything I do in my life. Just look at my life, please, just through the social media eye, and you're going to go, this guy is crazy fun, okay?
Okay.
And I want you to think, Robin, what do I have to gain? I tell everybody, why would I slow my life down, put everything on hold, and say, I want to be a city council member, and I want to get griped at by everybody that doesn't agree with everything, right? Why would I do that? And I have an answer, Robin. It's because I love the people, and it is far time in 2020, 2021, that you know who your representative is, you know how they're voting, you know how they're spending money, because I'm telling you, because I'm on social media, because we're sitting in forums together. The only way I pull it off, Robin, is with your help. I promise you.
Yes, well, you can count on me. And
Thank you, Robin.
for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna.
Yes, and yes, thank you too. And that's one thing we do appreciate is you taking the time to introduce yourself, because before this, you know, we were thinking that not only are we trying to promote the end of systemic racism and end racism and heal our communities one step at a time, which is really important. The little things that we can do to help our friends and our neighbors feel welcome and valued. But that's also taking the time to meet with the politicians that may ultimately be in charge of our communities, locally,
Yes.
statewide, nationwide, so far. And so by your willingness, maybe we come from different backgrounds and different political ideologies, but the position is a non-denominational, I don't know how you say it, nonpartisan position. And we appreciate your openness and willingness to listen to our issues. We love to see in the future to see you elected and to have a seat at the table to bring in that diversity that our city does have and bring in the different viewpoints and experiences of the residents and hopefully have those voices heard. And that's, I guess, the penultimate signal of a working, functioning government, when the voices of the citizens are heard. And we hope that that is the case for you too. We're happy to have you here tonight and support you in your election as well.
So Anna, if I can respond to that as well, you both, and I'm just speaking to Robin and Anna for a moment because we've been talking, you both have been in Sugar Land for 25, probably a total of 40 years, 35, 40 years, okay? I'm not sure the number. But this is only the beginning, Anna. I can't tell you how excited I am, okay? And I don't want to start screaming, but this is only the beginning. When we can put this together, and we can put this together, Anna, the only way, we've got to get it started. We've got to start the forums. We've got to be a part of everyone's life. But Anna, never forget, everybody's opinion matters. Going back to parties, I'm telling you now, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party will be the death of the American system. When they stop listening to the people who empower them, okay, they are putting laws and restrictions and guidelines in place, Anna, that you and I may not agree with, but it works for them and not for us. This is the beginning, today and now. November 3rd is the beginning. Don't anyone think about it as the end, whether our president stays or is switched out. Forget about all of them. If we can fix local, and here's how I know it. I keep bringing him up, okay? MLK Jr., he knew if we could fix the man, any man, okay? If we could fix the individual, we could fix the greater, okay? So we as a community have to come together, respect each other. We can disagree all day long about social programs and all that. But Anna, you're still my friend. I will still support you. Even though I may disagree with some opinion you have, it's okay. But why can't we do that? And I'll tell you why. Our parties pull us apart. They are destroying what our founding fathers originally set up. And by the way, remember what I said at the beginning. We are a growing nation. We are not a dying nation. We are growing and we're shaking things off. I quit drinking Coke. We stopped this, whatever. We are changing every day, Anna. And the only way you are going to keep that up is to change. Okay, all of us, that's you and me and Robin, that's all of us making a change. But it needs to start now. You've got to help me push back, and you watch what we're going to be able to do together. It's going to be unbelievable. And that little smile I saw in your face earlier, it's going to be on there all the time because we're going to crack down on forums. We're going to figure out the history of the 95. We're going to find a great way to memorialize them. But the greatest thing we can do for our children is two things: educate them and not bury them in debt. We want them to experience liberty that the Sugar Land 95 never had. We want them to understand what freedom and liberty is. But if we don't start right now, Anna, it's going to be what you and I have experienced for the last 35 years, Anna. We've got to start it somewhere with something different, with someone new, with new ideas. Sorry, I digress.
Not at all. Not at all. We appreciate your passion. Does anyone else have any questions for William this evening? We have a few more people that have added on. And if you don't mind, William, if you have a few minutes, if there are a few more questions to wrap up.
So can I talk a little more while you're waiting?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I want to talk, if I may, and go ahead.
You're free to talk.
Oh, okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I thought someone said something. I want to talk for a minute about our condition in Fort Bend County and Sugar Land. I don't want to take away anything that is due to the decision makers that have gotten us to today. Okay. New Territory, Greatwood, Sweetwater, Sugar Creek, Sugar Land as a whole. We are a part of truly probably one of the most unique cities in the United States of America. We are all a little different. We're a little different in our business, our religions, our race, our gender. We're all a little bit different. But guess what? In Sugar Land, it works. You know why it works? We respect each other. We don't go and burn down somebody's house because we dislike the way they made a wedding cake or something. You know what I mean? We look at these issues. We work through our issues. The longer we can do that, the more powerful a city of people that we can become. But we never need to, please never forget something. The government is in place. The entire government, federal all the way down, is in place because it has been empowered by the people and for the people. But what happens is the people stop holding the government accountable. They watch football instead, whatever, Monday night. They don't go to city council meetings. They don't look into their school board that's trying to spend $900 million on more bonds. Those of you that don't know about Proposition A in Sugar Land, me, William Ferguson, has voted against it. I'm recommending you vote against it. Do you know what Proposition A is, Anna, in Sugar Land?
I don't have it with me at the top.
Well, I'm putting you on the spot, Anna.
Yes, I have my notes, but I don't have it with me.
Okay, so listen, I'm going to tell you because I'm sure Robin knows. I'm not going to put Robin on the spot. But listen, Proposition A extends the 2-year term for the elected officials to 3 years. Now, you know why they want that? Have you talked to your incumbents why they want that?
Well, they want longer terms.
But did they tell you why? You're going to love when I tell you why.
Share with us.
You ready? Here it is. I was told by incumbents that are for this proposition that year number 1 is all about learning, okay? Year number 2 is about running for re-election. So they want a year number 3 for re-election, year number 2 for applying what they learned in year 1. So here's my response to the citizens, of which I am one, okay? Here's my response. No. If you cannot do a good job in 2 years, if I cannot do a good job in 2 years, get rid of me. You don't want a bad representative for 3 years that you could have gotten rid of in 2. Now, if I do a good job, Anna, if I blow your mind and we do forums and we have all this fun together working over the next 2 years, I'm not worried about re-election. You're going to re-elect me. You're going to want more of the fun and positive community we have. I don't care about re-election. You with me? Don't give a 3rd year. Don't give it away, guys. And you got to vote against Proposition A unless you want to risk a bad rep for 3 years instead of 2.
I agree. I think that's what our group recommendation was, a no, because of the extended time. And then what do you do when you have a representative that is not, a good representative?
Exactly.
Work with a longer period instead of letting voters decide if they need to be reelected or not. And that is absolutely true. The voice of the people. We want to give the people a voice as much as possible. And that's absolutely true. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's one of the ways we learn from one another.
Can I give your group advice?
Sure.
Okay. The best advice I can give your group. You said you're about 300 members or so. I'm not quite sure the number, but listen, the best way to grow your group, and when I say this, you may frustrate over my comment, but bear with me to finish it. The best way to grow your group is one way, and that is you guys work united in a positive way. Your decision makers that are currently in place, do not burn bridges with them. They may not be going in the direction you want, but what you do is you find a way to bridge with them, because if you don't, the door shuts, opportunities go away, and you got to fight harder. Stay positive. Okay, there's my advice. Stay positive and build bridges. There are some groups here in our area, I won't name them, but they spend all their time bashing political leaders that are in place that have the power to make life better for all of us. And instead, they bash them because they don't turn at every turn. They don't step every time they speak. My advice to you, Anna, because I can feel that you're trying to do what is right and fair to the community. Just maintain a positive movement and build bridges. Do not burn those bridges, or guess what? You got to build them all over again. It's a nightmare.
That's true. And that's why we're united in peace and trying to find ways to find common solutions.
Yes.
For a better tomorrow for everyone.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions we have a little bit of a quiet group, William, but we truly appreciate you taking the time and the effort, and we are happy to support you and wish you a successful campaign, a safe campaign, because these times are like no other. And, stay safe, stay positive, and keep bringing that message and involving citizens' voices, because that is the optimal goal for having a representative type of government. And we thank you for doing that. We know that it's hard in running and sacrificing your time and your personal life too. We're thankful that you're able to participate with our group. And we hope that, should you be elected, you'll see us coming to visit you.
Well, I can assure you, Anna, I am welcoming you now, and I'm going to welcome you then. But I'm telling you, the only way I pull it off is I'm going to pull it off with your help and Robin's help. And I don't know what Robin's baking back there or cooking, but if she keeps doing that on her Zoom video, I'm coming over and we're having cake or whatever she's doing.
I am. I'm cooking dinner at the same time, participating. Meatloaf, cabbage, and jasmine rice.
I could do some of that. Keep your cabbage.
Okay. Okay. Thank you again for your time.
Yes, ma'am. You guys, good night.
Good night.
Thank you and good luck. Thank you.